Tonight on KGW News, a massive manhunt in Maine stretches into a second night as families of the 18 killed are faced with an incredible loss.
The world lost a great girl, and I lost a precious daughter.
Plus, unnerving new details about the Portland man accused of plotting to attack a rock climbing event. The letters he wrote to friends that had him on police radar for months. And as a teacher strike looms, parents worry their children are caught in the middle.
This is not the time to be sending our kids back home.
Then later, a site for Portland's second mass homeless camp.
If they don't manage it well enough, there's going to be problems.
Why neighborhood leaders say they won't work with the city. Good evening, everyone. First tonight, the search continues for the man suspected of a horrific mass shooting in Maine. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. 18 people are now confirmed dead, 13 others injured. NBC's Chris Pallone is in Lewiston, Maine, with the very latest.
As night fell on Lewiston, Maine, agents executed search warrants and searched properties believed to be connected to suspected gunman Robert Card. Tens of thousands remain under shelter-in-place orders with a mass murderer potentially on the loose.
Please stay at home and be safe.
Police say Card walked into a Lewiston bowling alley and opened fire Wednesday night, then drove to a bar and continued his attack, leaving at least 18 dead and 13 more injured. Among those shot at the bowling alley, Tricia Aslin. Her mom says she was killed while trying to call 911.
The world lost a great girl, and I lost a precious daughter.
Card was in the Army Reserve. Officials tell NBC News he threatened a military base and was sent by his own commanders to a mental health care facility for treatment in July, which raises questions of how he was able to have a gun in the first place. Sources say the rifle used in the attack was bought legally.
If in fact the suspect was hospitalized for 2 weeks for mental illness, that should have triggered the yellow flag law.
The shock of such a horrific massacre with nearly as many homicides in a single night as this state typically sees in an entire year has left the community reeling.
I've never locked my door once at night. I leave them wide open.
And that nightmare will continue until a suspect is in custody. In addition to searching for Robert Card tonight, investigators are also trying to answer the question why. They're looking at a note they found in his home for clues. And according to 3 police sources, they're also trying to figure out whether a female acquaintance of Card's frequented this bar behind me, and perhaps that made it a target. In Lewiston, Maine, Chris Pallone, NBC News.
And stay with KGW and NBC News for the latest on the mass shooting in Maine. We'll have updates on KGW News at sunrise starting at 4:30 and, of course, anytime on KGW.com. Back in the Northwest, the Portland man accused of plotting to shoot up a rock climbing festival in Central Oregon is set to appear in court tomorrow. Prosecutors say 39-year-old Samson Garner was planning an attack at the Smith Rock Kragan Classic. According to court records, Garner had been on police radar since at least August. 2 friends tipped detectives off to concerning text messages and emails they got from Garner. In one, he allegedly wrote that he dreamed of attacking Mount Hood Meadows on opening day. That same note mentioned the Kragan Classic, Garner writing, quote, how easy it would be to rampage through the park while climbers watched and lived that horror. Police arrested Garner last Thursday in Central Oregon, a day before the festival. They say they found multiple handguns and a semi-automatic rifle in his car. Here is the Deschutes County DA.
The evidence included weapons that appeared to be prepared in order to conduct a very bad, a very dangerous act of aggression towards other people.
Garner is facing 27 felony charges, including attempted murder. Meanwhile, the off-duty Alaska Airlines pilot accused of trying to shut down a passenger plane's engines mid-flight appeared today in federal court. Federal prosecutors in Portland have charged 44-year-old Joseph Emerson with 1 count of interfering with a flight crew. That is on top of state charges, which include more than 80 counts of attempted murder. Emerson's lawyer and family today said they simply have no clear explanation for what happened, and nor does he.
First, I want to just express from Joe to the flight crew that he is grateful for their timely and heroic actions. And he would like to reiterate that he had no intention to harm himself or anybody on the airplane when he acted.
Prosecutors say Emerson was riding in the cockpit jump seat when he tried to shut off the plane's engines. The pilot struggled with him before he left the cockpit. Now, according to the FBI, Emerson then told a flight attendant, quote, "I need you to cuff me before I do something wrong. It's going to be bad," end quote. After being seated and placed in handcuffs, the FBI says he then tried to open an emergency exit door, but a flight attendant stopped him. Emerson is in jail for now. He's scheduled to be arraigned on those state charges next week. We are just days away from a potential teacher strike in Oregon's largest school district. And tonight, with no clear sign of progress between the teachers union and the district, some Portland parents say they increasingly feel like they and their kids are caught in the middle. Catherine Cook with the story.
Thursday night, and 6 days shy of a possible strike among Portland public school teachers. These signs are for a march this weekend.
It's just a showing of solidarity.
Union Vice President Jackie Dixon is trying to be optimistic.
And there is always the possibility that we work things out. Of course, we hope to come to some type of resolution at the table. And, we also have the possibility of a strike November 1st if we cannot come to that agreement.
Portland Public Schools and the Teachers Union have been negotiating for months. Among the biggest demands from teachers, better wages, more prep time, and smaller class sizes.
It's not right to pack them into a classroom, 33 kiddos. Let's humanize them.
As the strike date looms, teachers are grateful for the support they're getting.
There are so many parents that are excited to bring their kids to the strike line and have been saying to me, we're excited for our kids to learn in this different way.
Our kids need more learning time, not less.
PPS parent Christine Pitts is not excited by the idea of a strike. She's frustrated, and she believes this crossed a line. It's a letter signed by Grout Elementary School teachers sent to parents by the school's PTA. It says in part, PPS is organizing Chromebooks to be distributed to students for use during a strike. One easy way to show support for our teachers, students, and the PAT community is to send a letter refusing to accept these resources during the strike.
I just couldn't believe that we were being asked to refuse the one way that many students will be able to connect with their peers or online learning opportunities during a strike.
I understand how that could come off as concerning. I think it's important for parents to know that that message originated from parents.
Pitts says clearly not all parents share the same views. She wants everyone at the bargaining table to prioritize keeping students in school.
It absolutely feels like we are in a corner and like our voices are being used as if we're pawns, in a game.
The district has told parents that in case of a strike, there will not be in-person or online instruction. However, the district is making online resources available for students and families who want to pursue independent studies, but there won't be any work requirements. David.
All right, Catherine. So without an agreement, and right now there is no agreement, what happens next?
Well, the plan is to keep meeting. Union officials told me tonight that they have 2 more mediation sessions planned, one on Monday and another on Tuesday. But if nothing changes, the strike will begin on Wednesday.
Yeah, potentially down to the wire here, and we know you will be watching. Thanks, Catherine. Appreciate that. Meanwhile, the team at The Story took an in-depth look at what both sides are offering in these negotiations. You can check out their full report. It's up now in the Story section of KGW.com. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, a member of what prosecutors say is Portland's most notorious violent criminal gang was sentenced today to life in prison. Prosecutors say 50-year-old Lorenzo Jones was part of the Hoover gang for more than 30 years. He was convicted of criminal racketeering, murder, and drug distribution. Jones is also accused of recruiting and grooming kids to carry out acts on the gang's behalf. In Battleground, medical officials have confirmed a police sergeant died from a fentanyl and methamphetamine overdose. Sergeant Richard Kelly was discovered unconscious in his office at the police department back in August. Investigators say the drugs were most likely taken intentionally, and this was not a workplace exposure. The chief has ordered an audit of how drugs seized as evidence are handled in that department. And the National Guard today rescued 2 people who got stranded in the Mount Jefferson Wilderness in Marion County. One was a mountain biker who was stuck in a 4 to 5 foot snowdrift along a trail near Hawk Mountain. He had to stay overnight in a structure he found along that path. The second person was a hiker on the Pacific Coast Trail who was stranded in whiteout conditions for 2 days. The two were only 11 miles apart, so a guard helicopter was able to pick both of them up. Washington has finally cleared its rape kit backlog. Attorney General Bob Ferguson saying some 10,000 kits have now been cleared and sent for testing. Ferguson said that so far kits which were gathered between 2012 and 2015 have helped solve at least 21 sexual assault cases, and that number is expected to grow. Survivors say it is a step toward making sure the past can't be repeated.
What happened to me and what happened to the over 10,000 other survivors who tried to access justice never happens to a single survivor in Washington state ever again.
A special team started clearing the backlog in 2019 after a new law required the state to process rape kits within 45 days of receiving them. You're watching KGW News, and straight ahead at 11, neighbors surprised to learn the city's next mass homeless camp is set to go in near them. And later, a little levity on this Thursday night. The decked out dogs vying for best dressed.
Oh, that is a lot of fun. Hey, we had a really cool sky out on the coast today. Look at these clouds. Never completely cleared, and we still have a lot of cloud cover hanging around out there right now. Let's know what that will mean for our temperatures overnight and in the morning, and our chances for frost, which will continue not just tomorrow morning, but for several mornings to come.